Hello and welcome back to SuperCoach Edge. Well, we are here, Liam. It is that time of the preseason. I was going to say that time of the season, but it hasn't begun yet. Well, technically it has because of round zero, but we're not going to count it as we said, because if you made a team, it wasn't finalized during round zero, opening round, because it doesn't count. So who cares? So we are here to unveil our team in, I guess, its most final form, as final as it can be. Of course, there will be tweaks. There always is, as we know, with rookies. So I am counting on that occurring at some stage when, of course, the team sheets do drop. But I think by and large, I am at a stage where I am relatively happy with my team, with the way that it's structured. But having said that, as we spoke about, Liam, between us, pre-record, my side has changed structurally. And it hasn't changed for weeks on end. Like a couple of players have changed here and there, but by and large, like the structure, like the number of primos, rookies, mid-prices hasn't changed until I sat down and I was like, okay, I'm a little bit worried about one area of the field, which you can probably guess what it is, because a lot of people are having issues with this particular area. And I thought things through and I thought, no, I need to change the structure here. And I've shifted some things around, shuffled the deck chairs, but I am at a stage now where I am relatively happy. And hopefully it doesn't change. So I'm going to say this is my finalized team heading into round one with an asterisk. And it always has an asterisk with it. So here we go, Liam. Let's get into it. I will share my screen here. I was going to say, where's my team? But there is no team because I've wiped the slate clean for the purposes of this video, for the full unveiling, just to make it a bit more exciting. Well, and you might be able to guess, Liam. Maybe we'll make a bit of a game out of this as to try and guess as to which player I'm going to announce next. Or if there's a host of players that you think.
Yeah.
You might be cheating though, because I did give you a little bit of an insight into my team. So it's probably testing your memory skills more than anything. But you can even say like if it's going to be mid-price, a primo, or a rookie. Mind you, if I get to like D6 and you're saying primo,
Could be accurate. It could be accurate.
That's true. That's true. It could be actually, considering the
shit the way this season's going.
Yeah, that are rookies. But this is it. This is the team, and I'm at a stage where I think for D1, a lot of people will be selecting this player, and we've said throughout the preseason, or at least I've said, Liam, that this man, you'd be crazy, you'd be insane to not select this man at D1. Mind you, if you want to go elsewhere, if you want to look at someone else, that's entirely up to you. You may or may not be insane, but it is the man who is owned by 67% of the competition. She's nuts, as I affectionately call him, as in get a look at D's nuts from She's nuts.
These nuts. Got him!
It is Harry Sheezel at D1. I just think he's an absolute gun, as we all do. He's made for SuperCoach. His sublime skill set doesn't need to get bulk possessions to really score all that high, but he does both to his credit. So he, I think, is someone that will be, at the very least, I'll say parameters of being a top 3 defender, and more than likely will get defensive midfielder status as well, which is going to help things, potentially shuffling deck chairs when we're upgrading our team through the season. So I think there is so much going for this bloke, and we'll know how good he is, but I think he can actually take his average to another level. 118 in 2024, I reckon he can push 120 upwards of that, just such as the quality of the lad. So he is in D1. Moving on to D2, Liam. Do you think I'm going to go for a mid-pricer or a primo?
I was thinking rookie, but who knows?
I do like to live dangerously, but probably not that dangerously. That would be absolutely insanity. That'd be kamikaze.
No, I'm going to go... actually, I do know who it is. So I'm just going to say it's a primo. But I would have guessed a primo in any case.
What I will say is there's a bit of an explanation behind this. It's not just an outright primo. It's someone that's in this position wasn't originally a primo. It was another mid-pricer. So I will discuss it in a bit more detail as I round out my my defense. So I will say who it is. It is another primo, obviously, and it's someone, as I scroll down the list here, is I think 12% of teams. It's Dane Zorko. So he's coming to my team very, very late. We spoke about him last year, reservations about his age, about his injury history, so on and so forth. And to his credit, and knock on wood this time around as well, that he stays durable. He's someone that I think, without Coleman there, it elevates his prospects even more. And I think if Coleman was fit and firing, I definitely wouldn't be going for him. But because he's got like the full reign on kick-ins, we saw in the practice game, I think he had 8 kick-ins, just incredible ability to score as well as he does. Just bog possessions and loves to kick as well, which is always good, and just pigs it up in that defensive role. So he is my D2. Let's move on to D3, and I will get back to that explanation in a moment. But D3, I do have someone that we always speak about, I feel, every single preseason. He is a traditional burn man, but you know what? I'm going back there again because I like to live dangerously, Liam, as I alluded to earlier, and it is
it Nat
Jaden
5?
Short. If he was a defender, even if he was a defender, I wouldn't be selecting him. Let's just put it that way. That's like that's
If he was $1.
even if he was for free, Liam. Even if it was free. I do love Nat 5, but yeah, not so much in recent seasons. But Jaden Short, Birdman, as we know, seems to kill it. He becomes virtually like Essendon in the trade period.
Yeah.
Essendon in the trade period is like they've always won the virtual trade premiership. And I feel as though Jaden Short is that man. He's like the best defensive option you'll see across the preseason just because he kills
every
it.
time.
Every single time, each and every time. But this time around, what's different, and we spoke about it in defensive mid-pricer episode, is the fact that Rioli's no longer there. He has to go back into that, quarterback role out of defense. And I do think there is a legit explanation and reasoning behind thinking that he will go back to averaging what he has in previous seasons and become almost a bit of a primo. I don't know if he's going to be a keeper. I won't go as far as to say that, but I do think he will be able to make some cash and at that price point, provide a fair bit of value. So he is there at D3. In D4 is a guy that you've been a massive fan of all preseason, Liam. And I was doubtful to some extent. I wasn't a believer. I wasn't a believer or a believer in this sense. And it is the man, as I scroll down, I probably should, the score ownership is probably easier. Where is he? I've scrolled past him because he should
surely
be.
Surely it's not that low.
There he is, 33% ownership. It is Matt Roberts. So I really needed to see him have that role in defense, which he has. He's virtually the new Seagull. He's a new Jake Lloyd. And from what we saw of him in the opening round was incredible. So he is the next generation, the next gen Seagull coming through the ranks. And at 434.8K, an absolute gun. And 124 score first up as well. We just know already he's going to make some coin. So a very, very nice player to have in your team and great value. So he is in there at D4. At D5, we have someone who, I guess, you've always had Roberts. I've always had this bloke, I feel, in my sights. And it is 29% owned now. He's gone way up. Harry Perryman, 417.5K. I was very bullish on him across the preseason in those unofficial practice games, seeing the amount of CBAs that he had. His tackling prowess being more of that defensive type player as it is before he was actually given those CBAs. When he was at the Giants, I was impressed with that. Translated very, very well when he was given those CBAs. Now he's at the Pies, and seeing how he went about his game in the opening round, just, very much, as I said, like Roberts for you, Perryman for me was just a tick. He's in my team, and at that price point, extreme value as well. So he is in there and will not be moving. Now, Liam, I haven't been asking you, but I didn't want to slow things up, but I will ask you, do you think I will be going for a rookie, mid-pricer, or primo in defense? Now, I've seen some very outlandish structures in defense. I might have thrown you here. I might have just gone straight from the primos to the mid-prices thinking, I might just go back and select a primo or another mid-pricer.
So, I mean, in terms of, I don't know who this spot specifically will be, but I'm assuming there's a Zach Reed, a trainer,
yep,
or maybe a Benjamin Patton. I don't know if his name is Benjamin or just Ben, but those are my three guesses.
We'll call him Benjamin, just like Zachariah. I can never forget Zachariah. Well, we do have a Zachariah Reed in my team. So that is correct, Liam. That is a ding ding. And he's actually second most owned, believe it or not. I haven't really taken much notice of these ownerships, but 59% owned is Zach Reed. So he is in my team. You
Yep.
also mentioned Luke Trainer.
Yep.
He is in my team as well, 36%. Not as bullish for him, just because I feel as though he will be a slow burn, but I feel at that ownership, you're kind
Yeah.
of going with the crowd, you're kind of hedging your bets there, because if he does pop off in the first game as well, which he has going for him, I feel as though you don't want to be left behind the pack there.
Yeah.
So just playing a little bit safe there, and sort of a lower price point, which is always helpful. And then this other spot, I'm a bit unsure about, and I've spoken to you about it, but for the time being, I've gone with Ben Patton. 25%
Yeah.
owned, 133.4K, so higher price as well. But I feel as though he's already got the runs on the board. 67 points in the bank
Yep.
from opening round. And he will, of course, go up in price a week earlier than, say, a Trainer, a Reed, those caliber of players that are starting their season in round one as opposed to opening round. So I'm kind of going for Patton off the back of that. Having watched his game, I wouldn't say he blew me away. There are a couple of moments there where he didn't look all that good.
Yep.
To his credit, came back into the game, but I just need to see, obviously, if he keeps his spot. So that's going to kind of dictate whether or not I stick with him in my team. I am also keen on one of your new recruits in Jackson
Jackson.
Pryor.
Yep.
Um, I'm probably 50-50 between him and Patton, really. The only thing with Jackson is the fact that he is priced
Yeah, it's a bit more
36K
expensive.
more expensive. So I don't know how much he'd have to average more than Patton to make up that shortfall, in order to obviously increase the same
Yeah.
amount of price. But I think I will go for Patton just because he is a cheaper price point. And if I need to
Yeah.
correct, I'll do that. But yeah, just job security. Spoke to you about it, and I think that Jackson Pryor should stick around in the team. And Patton, I'm unsure about, a little bit more unsure. So I don't know. I'm kind of going a bit more frugal in that sense there, going for the cheaper option. But that's
Makes
my
sense.
defense as it looks at the moment. Now, it's just a quick explanation of what I was thinking with regards to what I referenced with Dane Zorko. So originally I had another rookie in my defense. So I was running with Sheasel, Short, Roberts, Perryman, Reed, and then another rookie in the form of Trainer or Patton, which then would have prompted me to either go for a Leak or Jackson Pryor. Now, James Leak, I think he had the lowest time on ground for the Giants. It's come out that Tom Green could be fit to play for round one, which doesn't bode well. As we know, players that don't have high time on ground, a bit of an insight there bit of a peek behind the curtain as to the job security of said player.
Mm.
And more than likely, otherwise, he gets relegated to the sub or
Yeah.
gets pushed out of the team entirely. So I think other people have been speaking about this as well, and for good reason. And I think it's probably best to fade him off the back of that. And thinking about that as well, I took him out of my team and I'm like, well, Jackson Pryor, do I really want to run with two Essendon players in defence in the one
Mm.
line? I don't know if I'd be comfortable with that because obviously there's a little bit of correlation there. If Essendon's defence gets absolutely pummeled,
Yeah.
more than likely Reed and Jackson Pryor aren't going to be scoring well, which means that I have to mix it up and go for a Patton or a Trainer. So I was like, you know what? I think I need an extra primo in defence. I'm not comfortable with running with just Sheasel, given the fact that I've also gone for Jaden Short, who I think is a bit of a risk. Quite happy with Roberts, quite happy with Perryman. So just hedging bets here a little bit makes me a little bit more comfortable looking at this structure here. Any thoughts, Liam?
The only thing that I like, and when I talk about my team, I'll mention this. Similar players in defence that I've got to you. My concern that I have on my side is that Roberts, Perryman, and Patton all share the same buy.
Yep.
Um, I don't think it's the end of the world because, now that we've got Zorko playing that round three, it lessens the blow a little bit, but it does sort of take you down to what, 4, 5 players potentially
Yeah.
in defense. Whereas if you can limit it, you could be, looking at 6. Is it the end of the world? Probably not, with Patton being a rookie. It's probably just the Roberts Perryman combo that hurts. But like, it depends on the rest of your side as well. So I don't think it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
I've currently I'm gonna be honest. In my side, I've got two of those players. Like I've got similar setup, so I can't. Like I'm not that worried about it. Is what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
the only thing that in my side I look at and I worry about it a little bit. Like I
Mm.
think about it.
Yeah, no, it's a very, very good point. And I think it probably gets to a point where like the buys are unavoidable, but it's just it's how you
Yeah.
minimize the amount of damage that it does to you, I guess. Like we are given like we've got 31 players to choose from. It's best 18. Um, so it's not the end of the world, as you mentioned.
No.
And it's probably, yeah, it's not a good thing that that's sort of confined in the one line as well. But um, I mean, is one player going to fix that? I mean, a lot of people are
No.
going to be going for
Yeah.
Roberts. Um, the likes of Perryman, like Zorko doesn't have the early buy, which is good. But yeah, Roberts, Perryman, and Patton, yeah, it does leave you down three players. But let's move on to the midfield. And interesting because I reckon just looking quickly at my cheat sheet here that I'm referencing, I've got one, two, three, four. I think we're in about five players in my midfield that's been a constant from the very get go. Everyone else has been new. Um, so one of these players that is a constant is a primo first up, obviously. And it is in the form of, now, I don't know what the ownership is, but just scrolling down here, it's going to be very interesting to see what he's at 24%. So it is Caleb Sarong.
Really?
I thought he would have been more than that. Where does Brayshaw rank? Because a lot of people are kind of weighing up going for
But
either or.
even then, he's not.
Brayshaw's 11%. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, his ownership has risen since the likes of Bont and Butters going down.
Mm.
Naturally. They've pivoted to him, whoever was owning those either of those two players. But Sarong, I think, has been a constant in my team. Alongside, I did have Bont. Um, Bit of a blessing in disguise with, I mean, Bont going down, it's not a good thing, but it's meant that it's allowed me to spread some cash over the rest of my
Yeah.
team and go for some value players, which is a little bit of a hint at players that I'm going for here. But next up, I think Sarong, anyway, just a quick note on him. I do think, as we spoke about in that Primo episode, I won't go into too much detail. If you want a comprehensive look at an explanation behind that, go and check out that episode. But he's got a high floor, high ceiling. And I just think with Brayshaw back in form as well, if he starts the season like he ended 2024, Brayshaw, he's probably going to attract a little bit of attention as well at times where when Brayshaw was underdone, he wasn't performing well, all the attention went onto Sarong. And I think that's going to allow Sarong to elevate his average a little bit more, or at least I'm hoping across the course of the season. So even though those games as well that he was being tagged, I think the lowest score was around about the 80 mark. So he's got a really super high floor despite the fact that he does get attention. So high contested player, loves to tackle, all that sort of stuff. Super coach made. So I am a big, big rap for Sarong. Next up, I do have in M2. No surprise here. But what is surprising is actually not highest owned, and it is Clary Oliver, 451.6K. Everyone's going to have him, and I say everyone in terms of those serious super coaches out there.
Mm.
What we saw in the preseason, he was high scoring for Melbourne, incredible player, and looks as though he is back to his peak fitness and back to his best. He's got his mind on the footy and his snout in the trough. More specifically, Liam, as we affectionately call him, the pink sweaty pig. He is back for 2025. Nothing is more sure than that. So I am very, very keen to see him go about his piggery in 2025 yet again. So he's there
Mm.
at M2. M3 is a player that I must admit, I had a chat to Janeth on the Sorg Play podcast when we did a review of Carlton, being a baggers man as well. And this player, a little bit of a hint as to who it is, Janeth was a massive rap for, and I was kind of a little bit more iffy about it just because of his injury history. And if I scroll down the list here, let's have a look at his ownership. It is at 12%. Again, surprised it's this low, but can understand reservations because I had them. It is Adam Chera, 447.7K. I think I needed to see him in the flesh. And when I saw him play against St Kilda in the unofficial practice game,
Mm.
I was like, this is me. This is me done. I can see him at peak fitness. He's running like he was back in 2023. And, you know, he's got the runs on the board now as well. Like his averages have been very, very good around the 90s. And I do think he can match that mark and even eclipse it as well at peak fitness. He is someone that I think is extreme value. Probably not to the extent of Clary Oliver, just because he's hit heights that Chera hasn't been able to. But I do
Yeah.
think he is someone that, for his price point, is extreme value and can exceed his previous averages. So he's in at M3. Another player that's coming in at M4, I jumped on off the back of his performance in opening round, and a lot of people would have. If I scroll up the ownership, has it crept up to 23%? Okay,
Well,
thought it'd be higher. It is
I think
Callahan.
that's I think that's high.
You think it's high?
Yeah,
I think it was,
personally.
yeah, he only was around about 10%, I think. So he has more than doubled.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it was less than
so
that potentially.
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
when he before the game,
Before the game, yeah.
or sort of mid game. But yeah, he was. Yeah, so I'm not shocked. I'm shocked that it's, I don't know, 23% seems highish,
Mm.
but also
Well,
lowish. I don't know.
yeah. Well, I think in the context of his price point, I just think he is. I had a look at his breakdown of his stats, his profile as a player, and he ticks the same boxes as an LDU, as a Tom Green, all these guys in the past that are sort of entering their
Yeah,
fourth year. And Finn Callahan is entering his fourth year. I think he's around about that games bracket as well. He's played around about 50, 60 games. So now he's at, that time in his career where he's taking the next step in his, not only his footy career, but also in Supercoach. And he's just someone that I think is an easy home run. 144 first up. He's going to go up in price as well. Is he going to be a top six midfielder? It'd be incredible if he can. But I think he's just someone that is going to be an easy stepping stone to a genuine primo slash keeper if he's not. So I am very, very bullish on him. I think he had the most CBAs. It was something ridiculous, like 80%. And I saw someone mention as well that, yes, like in our Discord, questioning that. And no, he will not get 80% on average every single week. Tom Green's going to obviously enter the fold. But if you look at it in terms of who got the CBAs as well, with Tom Green out, Josh Kelly had an increase in his CBAs outside of, I think he averages around about 25 to 35%. I think it was in just rough sums in 2024. He's more of a wingman with rotations through the middle. He was played more as a traditional engine room player, which won't happen when Tom Green returns. And then, of course, there is Toby Bedford, who's there as the negator, and Cogs as well, who I think is kind of falling away a bit, probably not at peak fitness and not getting the CBAs that he has in the past. I think they
Cogs
see
didn't get
Finn.
any CBAs.
Who's that? Sorry?
Cogs.
No, he didn't. He didn't at
No.
all. There you go. So I think in terms of what will be the starting engine room from here on out, it's going to be Tom Green, Callahan, and it's going to be Bedford with Kelly rotating through the middle like he has been in recent seasons. But he's best played as an outside player. He's that wingman, and he does the most damage in that role. So I think Callahan, whilst his CBAs will obviously drop,
Yeah.
they will still be high enough for him to do enough damage. And probably a good thing that Tom Green comes back in, because people see, like opposition coaches will see Callahan's game and be like, wait, we need to put some time and effort into it. Craig McRae didn't put any time and effort into him, and Callahan took the piss. So I think he's going to be an absolute gun. Tom Green there taking the attention off him. He's going to complement their engine room very, very well. So he is in my team at M4. At M5, he's a player that has switched from my forwards into the midfield now, and I'll get into the structural change side of things a little bit later, but it is Riley Sanders, 28%, 339.1k, with the likes of Trelaw, Bontout especially. Ed Richards could make his return. We'll just have to wait and see. But with those three main guys out of the Dogs engine room, the amount of, I guess, importance, reliance on Sanders is going to go up naturally. Even if those guys were fit and firing, I was still quite bullish on Sanders just in terms of natural progression. I've spoken about him in parallels with Clary Oliver. Just have a look at his breakdown on DFS Australia. Clary's first season, it's very, very similar to Sanders' first season in terms of time on ground, games played, averages, everything else. And I just see the way that Sanders plays is that in and under player, burst player, very, very similar to Clary. And I do think I can see him anyway pushing an average of 90, 95, even maybe even more than that. I think Clary went and averaged 100 in his second season.
Yeah, I
If he
think
could
so.
average 100 in his second season, Sanders, it'd be incredible. But I just think with increased opportunity comes
Yeah.
increased points, so on and so forth. So he's in my team as it stands and has been in my team from the get-go, as well as one of those players I spoke of that hasn't shifted. Uh, the next player in, what's this, M6? It is, scrolling down. Have I missed him? Where is he? There he is. Nathan O'Driscoll, 198K on the dot. Uh, he kind of came in for Erasmus, I think.
Yeah.
Looks as though O'Driscoll, I mean, he's at senior body. He's a mature body, I should say. He's been at senior level or been in the system for a number of seasons now. And I think he just appeals more compared to first year players and say Sid Draper, who probably will be managed, so on and so forth. So he's in my team. Hopefully he can, take that next step in his game. Similar to a Callahan, I think. He's been in the game, similar sort of number of seasons, hasn't had the opportunity. And I think with
Yeah.
that should come some increased averages as well. So it should be a nice cash cow. And at least I'm hoping he is. If not, he will be a bit of a pivot. Now, who I pivot to, Liam, is someone that I don't have in my team, but someone that I am very, very bullish on as a Carlton supporters firsthand, but I'm a little bit worried because he is an Uber pod. And I don't know about taking risks with cash cows that are Uber pods because, especially in the midfield, when there are so
Yeah.
many players that can pop off. And second to that, this player, I'll just scroll down if I can find him
To the
here.
bottom.
Well, he's actually dropped. I think he was actually more than this. Cooper Lord,
Yeah, wow.
253.8K. So his price point, turns me away. If he was priced around about or closer to Noddy, Nathan O'Driscoll, I would
Because
go for Lord in my team. His
what is he,
abilities,
253?
253.8K,
Yeah.
78.5 off the back of only 2 games, obviously. But from what I saw last season, what I've seen in the preseason especially, he played in the practice game against the Saints. I watched it live there. And then I saw he actually pulled on the jumper and played for the VFL side as well. And my Lord, pardon the pun, he belongs at senior level. His awareness, his ability to read the play, spinning into traffic, incredible. I'm so bullish on this bloke. I just don't know if he's going to be averaging more points
Yeah.
or making more cash than cheaper cash cows. That's the only thing
Yes. Yeah,
that
that's
goes
the
against
issue.
him.
If he was
So,
50K cheaper, makes sense.
yep, exactly. So I love to start him, but I won't. So he is not in my team, but I just thought I'd mention it because he might be a nice little pivot from potentially a Noddy or one of these other rookies, which obviously make up the next 2 spots in my team. So we have M7, and it's one of your boys, Liam. It's Elijah
Yes.
Sartis, 53% ownership, 191.2K. What we saw of the preseason, incredible. Will take his game to the next level, entering what his third season now. And
Yep.
with the opportunity comes great responsibility, like a Spider-Man. And also great points. So he is in my team. Next up, we have in M8 to round us out on field. It's the third highest owned, or will actually equal second highest owned in Levi Ashcroft. I wasn't as crash hot on him, I will admit, until I saw him in the proper preseason game and his ability to score. I think he doesn't need CBAs
Mm.
outright to score well. I think he's got that ability, that talent behind him to score well enough, and he's going to get the opportunity as well in Brisbane's team. So he is in my side. On the bench to round us out, there's a few options I could have gone for. There's so many players here, but Mitch Nevitt going to take his game to the next level. Another player as well. We spoke about him in the rookie mids episode in terms of the raps that he got from Scott himself, from
Yeah.
Dangerfield. He's going to get opportunity, and he's shown that he can score well and did pretty well in the preseason games as well. Next up, we have alongside him someone who was a latecomer, and you can't call me biased because I didn't have him in my team up until he was announced as making his debut. It is Lucas Camporelli.
Yep.
Keen to watch this kid, and I'm very happy that he's making his debut. I will say, in terms of him as a selection, I much prefer him as a fantasy rookie selection.
Yeah.
The reason I
Mm.
say that is because his disposal can be quite questionable, which obviously Supercoach points
Yeah.
is kind of, leaned upon the fact that you're able to dispose of the ball quite well. Otherwise, you're virtually losing points, leaving points on the table, which I think probably will happen with Lucas. But given his role that he's playing on the wing, which is a role that I think Carlton's team does need structurally because it allows Ollie Hollands to go back to playing defence, and Doherty will play through the middle a bit more, maybe playing through the wing as well at various stages. But he himself has come out and said that he's going to be more of a sort of that, I guess, Swiss Army knife and play as
Yeah.
required where need be. But yeah, I think he is someone that I'm very bullish on as well. Having said all that, because his ability to find the ball
Mm.
is very, very good. So I think that will make up for the lost points that are left on the table there in his iffy disposal at various stages. Um, so he is the second midfielder on my bench. The third one is someone that could change as well. Let me just scroll down. I don't know what his ownership is. 22%. It is Hugh Boxall.
Yeah.
And what I saw of him live against my mob in the unofficial practice game looked really, really good. Looked incredible. The way he moved, I reckon he belongs in St Kilda's team. And yep, we'll wait and see how he goes. And if he is selected, I expect him to be. And what I will say as well, with just quickly with Lucas Camporelli, it probably helps as well that Carlton are playing the first game because he could get the sub vest, maybe, but given his role, I don't think he will. Could maybe get subbed off. That's the only thing as well, which is probably worse because we're selecting him thinking, oh, yep, he's not going to be starting sub, and then he could get subbed off. But just, I don't know. I think he ran out the game as well in both the official practice game against the Giants and
Mm.
looked pretty good against the Saints as well. So I will say that for him, but Boxall, he's in there as well at the moment with an asterisk because rookies, they could change or they will change. They always do. Let's move on to the Rucks. And I mean, we've spoken about it in the previous episode, the most recent episode where we were chatting about all things Rucks. And Tristan Cherry, we spoke about how good he is as a scorer. Almost
Yeah.
starts with a bit of a handicap with his score in terms of having points on the board without having just the ball being bounced because the number of tackles that he gets is just incredible. What did he have? Was it 12, 13, 14 tackles or something
Oh,
in the
something stupid like 14. Yeah.
yeah, in the official practice game? Like, come on, Tristan, you're taking the piss, mate. Like it's just a practice game. But the fact that he's able to tackle as well as he has, as much as he does, he's an extra midfielder virtually, and that's part of the reason why he is such a good scorer. And then on top of that, we know that Ruckman, they score well traditionally anyway with hit-outs to advantage. And to his own credit, he's a very good Ruckman. So he is in my team, and you owned him late periods last year, Liam,
Yeah.
and you know full well
Loved
that
it.
he is a juicy, juicy own. Alongside him, another player that you owned, Tom DeConning.
Yeah.
46% ownership, third most owned, and spoke about him as well, just in terms of the amount of value you're getting from that price point. Had he not got injured, you'd probably expect his price point to be pushing close, if not surpassing 600K. I think the way that he was performing in his last 4 or 5 matches before he got injured, he was averaging 120 something. Incredible performer. And with Pitnet currently injured as well, it does mean that he does get free reign
Yeah.
with the ruck mantle. So he's going to, I expect him to start like a house on fire and will be a very nice VC first up,
Mm.
obviously playing the first game in round one. So he is in my team alongside Cherry on field. And then no surprises here at R3. We have Harry Boyd, 59% owned, the most owned ruckman, and expect him to play, I guess a bit of a two-man type, tag team role for St Kilda in the ruck. Just whilst Rowan Marshall anyway gets back to full fitness,
Yeah.
returning from that, was it hip pelvic injury that he sustained. So bullish with him and 99.1K. Can't go wrong there. Let's move on to the forwards. And we do have first up someone that is going to be priced, I think, next season. I expect him to be the highest priced. Well, he's not going to be a forward, I don't think.
No,
Maybe
probably
next
not.
year, but probably will lose that status. I expect him to be priced at around about 600K next year. It is Jason Horne-Francis,
Yep.
incredible player. Again, another player that ticks those boxes, been in the system now for a few years, played enough
Mhm.
games now to be in that bracket where he's going to take his game to the next level. So just an absolute bonus that we can select him as a forward. I expect his CBA's mid-time to go up in 2025. And with that will be his scoring as well. Saying that a lot here in terms of opportunity and scoring, but it is intrinsically linked, of course. Next up, we have at F2. I was wrestling with another primo in this spot here, but I just figure as though there's so much value in the forward line and rookies that I'm quite confident in that I don't want to take up a spot with another primo, which sounds silly because obviously you need as many primos as you can in your final side, but Jack McRae, he comes in, he would have been in my team regardless, but I was looking at Rankin very, very
Yep.
closely because I think at his price point, 521.6K is great value, much like Horn Francis. So I'm kind of banking on Rankin not going up in price too much, or at least stagnating at some point in the season where I can jump on him and get him into my team. But Jack McRae, he is a lock and load. Again, 66% should be way higher than that. Get him in your team. If you're starting a team from scratch and you haven't seen any exposed form or done any homework, haven't listened to any podcasts, get him in your team. He's going to be an absolute must-have.
Yeah.
Next up at F3, I have Bailey Smith. Went a little bit cold on him, I will admit, because of the fact that he hasn't really had exposed form. He's been rested, he's been managed, all that sort of stuff. And 389.2K, still great value. I'm a little bit, just the fact that he's playing under Scott, I'm a little bit worried more than anything. Like, surely he's going to get CBA, surely he's going to be run through the middle. But the fact that Tanner Brun isn't going to be available for a fair while
Yeah.
does help, I think, Bailey Smith and the fact that he will be getting CBAs. You think Dangerfield, obviously, Bose, all these guys, Holmes potentially as well. And I think Bailey Smith will form, an integral part of the engine room. At least I'm hoping. Scott, don't pull any shifties, please, mate. But he's my team at F3. F4, Caleb Daniel, 74% owned, should be 100%, much like Jack McRae. Going to be the cash cow / mid-pricer value option of the season. So enough said there. We've spoken ad nauseum about Caleb Daniel. And again, if you want to hear any further explanations about these particular players, go back and check out our analysis episodes in their specific lines. Next up, we have at F5, Liam. I'm going to throw it to you here because I haven't been throwing to you at all. Who do you think I'm going to be going for here?
I think I'm asked that. Who's after Daniel?
So this is F5 and F6.
F5. I'm assuming a rookie. Is it my boy, Kako?
He is one
Oh,
of
no,
them,
sorry.
but
No, 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 no. I know who it is. It's
he's
Sam
not on field.
Palpepper.
It is Sam Palpepper. Another
I
guy
forgot
that
about
actually,
him.
yes. So did you say Palpepper? Is in like PayPal?
Yeah, yeah,
Pepper?
yeah. Palpepper, isn't it?
Pal, that's it.
Pal. It's
As
Palpepper.
BT would say. Palpepper!
And Palpepper, and Palpepper.
Palpepper. Pal. He doesn't enunciate.
Pal.
So PayPal. So Palpepper. He has been a constant in my team across the course of the preseason. I am a little bit annoyed at the fact that his ownership has gone up as much as it has to 21%. We spoke about him at length in the rookies episode for forwards.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that he, first and foremost, has a role in Port Adelaide's team. Yes, he's coming back from an ACL. Liam, you can relate to that. But just thought I'd throw that in there. But he's a best 23 player. Or best 18, I'll say, because he's the sort of, he plays that role as that pressure forward that is so integral to a majority of teams. Doesn't really need to be scoring goals in order to score well in SuperCoach. Does pitch in with a goal here and there. Loves to tackle. Again, pressure forward. Does the 1%ers, all that sort of stuff. And has across the journey been so consistent in his averages. playing this one role, not needing CBAs. So it isn't a need to run through the end of the room, which can happen with some players, and their ability to score well is linked with that. Not so much Pel Pepper / Pel Pepper. So yeah, he's been able to average 70s thereabouts, 60s, 70s. And at that average, which I do think he can pump out for 2025, he will make us easily 150K. And again, he's got that job security, which is crucial for someone at F5. F6, Liam, you did mention Kako, but he is on my bench. I'm not as bullish in terms of his scoring output.
No, neither.
But this other player, and I imagine you probably have him in your team as well, Sam Davidson.
Yep.
Mature age player. I think he's 22 years of age.
Yeah.
Playing for Richmond's VFL team. Comes straight into the Bulldogs team. Bevo in the past has been quite willing to play players from the get-go in terms of mature age pickups. Forget the name of that bloke who came from the Pies. Starts with P, I think. Bolter, that's the one. Had his mullet in my head. Couldn't think of his name. So Davidson, I expect to see him given prime opportunity and scored well in the preseason as well. So he is someone that I am very confident in. Kako spoke of him. I'm surprised, I must admit, that he's in 70%.
Yeah, it's huge.
Huge. I feel as though it's a bit too high.
Yeah.
It's probably come off the back of the fact that he scored, 4 goals?
4 goals.
In the preseason game. Probably should have been 5 because someone kicked one on the goal line or something, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, Draper. Not talking about him.
Draper.
Would have been a great goal as well. But anyway.
Yeah, how dare he?
Moving on.
Yeah, moving on. But yeah, I'm surprised that he's in 70% of teams. It's the hype,
Yeah,
I think.
it's huge.
But he's, as you mentioned, Liam, as we spoke about pre-record and as we spoke about in the rookie forwards episode, he's going to probably have some of the best job security of any rookie. So it kind of in that context makes sense as to why he's had high ownership. But I just think with the role that he plays, and we've said it across the journey, as a small forward, your scoring output is going to be fluctuating more than likely. I think Nick Watson, he took a little bit to get going, but then kind of to his credit was able to score well enough and average well enough. So hopefully Kako can kind of follow in his footsteps. But yeah, very, very bullish about his job security. And that's probably the big reason as to why he's in my team, as well as the fact that he does have that DPP as well, which is quite handy if I need to switch things around, especially when it comes to trading. The last spot in my team, or at least on the bench in the forward line, is someone that I was impressed enough with in his new role. It is Connor Stone from the Giants. Scored 64. Obviously playing in opening round means that he's going to go up in price a week earlier, as I said earlier, compared to those players that are playing in round 1. So that's kind of the other feather in his cap there as to the reason as to why I've got him in my team. 25% owned. Yeah, that's probably about expectations, I reckon. And yeah, for me, I think I'm happy with what I saw from him in that role there. I saw enough of him to be like, yeah, that's good enough. I think he's probably got a role there.
Yeah.
And he's scoring, hopefully, can hover around about the 65, 70 mark. If not higher, that'd be awesome. But probably averaging what he needs to be making the 100, 150K as that nice little cash cow. Now, Liam, I will throw to you for this, the flex. Now, I've seen a number of strategies here as to the types of players that people have run through this new position. I have kind of been toing and froing. And I will admit, I've gone back and forth. This hasn't been a constant player in this spot because I think it's probably a little bit of it's an important part of your team. I think because first and foremost, it allows you to cover across multiple lines, potentially if you have a player of DPP, which I had a little bit of a play with in the BBL SuperCoach format and got a little bit of insight into how to use it. But I also think that, you could be going for a rookie, you could be going for a mid-price, you could be going for an extra primo if you wanted to. And it's much of a muchness, I think, at the end of the day. But how I've played it, Liam, I'll throw to you. How do you think I've approached the flex position?
I do know what players there. But I think we've got, I mean, in terms of strategy, I think we've gone similar. For me, I'm not on board with, not on board, but I'm a bit more, I don't want to start a primo in that position.
No.
I think it takes too much cash away from actual positions that you want. It's sort of my my last picked spot on the field, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
Because I kind of want to see what cash I've got left and then look at some players in a sense. I'm looking at it as a sort of a cash cow / rookie option player
Yeah.
personally, and I think that's probably a similar. I mean, I know what player you've got there, so I don't want to go with it.
I shouldn't have
But
shown you. Good memory,
no,
Liam. Good memory.
but yeah, so sort of that mid-priced rookie option is what I'm going with, and I think that's similar to what you're going with.
Yep. Well, at the moment anyway, I will say that I've got 410K on the
Yeah.
dot in the bank. So I could go for someone that is a bit of a higher mid-price player. I could go for a rookie and save a bit of money, put that in the bank, and
Yeah.
then kind of assess after round one as to what sort of correction trades I need to make. And it will give me ultimate flexibility in that sense. Now, from the get-go, I think I will say that I did have this player in my
Yeah.
starting team. I took him out and was playing around with things in terms of structure. And I've never been on board, I will say, I've never been on board with playing, as you said, another primo in this position. I did see people potentially playing another ruckman in terms of another primo ruck like a Gorn in this position. If I was to do that, just as an example here, Gorn is worth 668.9K. I've only got 410 in the bank. So it means that I'd have to find 250K from another position or another player to sap from that to then allow me to put Gorn in my flex, which I think just you're shooting yourself in the foot in that sense because the salary cap is staying exactly the same as last year. So we're having to work within those same parameters. And I know that price points overall have, I think, dropped a few percent,
Yeah.
but not enough to allow you to then get an extra primo into your team. This is a 31 spot. Last year, we only had 30 spots. We didn't start with an extra premium on our team. And if you're going to do that, I think you'll be doing it at the expense of another good, potentially, mid-price player like a Callahan or a McRae or a Smith, because I wouldn't be able to find enough cash from a rookie to then, put on top of the 410K to then bring Gorn into my team. So it would have to come at the expense of a Perryman, a Roberts, a Short, a Callahan, a Chera. And I think there's too many of these guys here that I think you don't need all of them, but I just think that you're kind of you're selling yourself short, I think, if you're bypassing those players in order to get another player of the primo quality. What I will say is I found a little bit of a balance here, and I do think that balance is in the form of Matt Flynn. So he was in my starting team. I took him out, as I said. I've run some rookies through this spot, and it just didn't fly. I was like, I don't know if they're going to be able to score as well as Flynn. He's shown in the past that he's able to average 80 odd. I do think that he can eclipse that. He was able to average that when he was balancing the ruck load with Briggs. Now he's the outright ruck at the West Coast Eagles, and that was something that I wanted to see to the eye in the official game. I'm like, now I've got confidence that I can start him in my team. That was the only thing that I was worried about. I'm not worried about his scoring. I'm worried about his role. He's got the job security, but is he going to get the number one outright ruck role? Saw enough of that to tick the box. So therefore, I am happy to have him in my team. He's virtually like a quasi mid-pricer / cash cow because I think he can score as well as like a mid-pricer can and also make as much cash as a cash cow. And I expect him to make 200K. If he can average 80, 90 plus, which as we know with Ruckman as well, the ability to score well is very, very easy. So that's part of the reason why I've got Flynn in my team and why I've got him in the flex. The other reason is we all know that his durability hasn't been too good in recent times. Even this preseason, he's had a couple of niggles. At that higher price point, it gives you the ultimate flexibility to trade down to anyone in any line. So, that and the fact that I've got some extra money in the bank, 148.1K, it allows me to either trade up or trade down. and bank even more money that I can then put on the head of another player for, trade corrections, all that sort of stuff. The other things that I will mention, Liam. Now, do you have any questions first up before we
So I
wrap
was
things
looking
up?
aside to think about it. No, I don't think so. I think it's a similar looking side to mine when we touch on it. There's some differences, but then it's funny. I think this is a similar looking side to what I had yesterday,
Yep.
and now my side has changed.
Oh, okay.
So it looks
I'm
a little bit
interested.
different. They're similar, like players, they're similar players,
Yep.
as you'd expect, but I think structure's slightly different.
Okay. Gotcha. So the one thing I forgot to mention as well in terms of structure, and I did mention it with Sanders. So Sanders was in my forward line. He's been in my forward line all preseason until today. When I brought Zorko in, I was fiddling with things. I traded Sanders. Oh, sorry, I switched him from the forward line to the mids in place of Peatling. The way that I see it is like a very similar price point. I just think it's too much of a risk to be running Sanders and Peatling in the same team. One could pay off, both could pay off, who knows? But I am more comfortable in having to make a correction trade to bring Peatling in or
Mm.
bring one of these two guys in, as opposed to trying to run with both guys and hoping that both pay off. I'm more confident in Sanders compared to Peatling. Having said that, I'm surprised that Peatling has a lowered ownership. I think it's below 10% because I do think he's going to get the opportunity. And people have been scared off a little bit too much with that one game sample size that the Crows have had in the official practice game. Again, you shouldn't read too much into it. I think he's going to be given that responsibility to run through the middle. But that's just kind of my thinking around structure. I'd like him as a selection. If you got him in your team, go with it. I'd love to have him, but I just think I'd be cutting it too fine. And if I was to do so, I would be having Peatling in my team at the expense of a quality midfield rookie, I think anyway.
Yeah.
I think these rookies that I have can make as much cash as Peatling. I'm confident in Sartis and Ashcroft being able to score well. O'Driscoll, I don't know. Nevitt, I think probably can. And if I need to, because I've got money in the bank, I might be able to try and find a way to get Peatling into my team via O'Driscoll if need be. So that's my thought around that.
Yeah.
And what it's done as well is I didn't actually have Kako in my team. So by switching Sanders from the forwards into the mids, it's then allowed me to open up a spot to bring Kako into my side. Again, just off that high ownership, I feel as though if he pops off and has a game like he did in the official preseason game, I'm going to be kicking myself because I'm going to be behind 70% of the competition. And I think fading a cash cow or a rookie that's high owned, I think is probably more of a risk than anything. There's no need to risk it unless there's another rookie that you think can outscore them, which I think in the forwards, it's pretty tight in terms of the players that we have at our disposal. So more than likely, Kako will be able to score quite well. And again, good job security. So he's part of the reason why I brought him in. The other two players that I was thinking of that I don't have in my team that still could make their way in, one more than the other, is Foss, Finn O'Sullivan. Very bullish on him. If he gets that same role that he had in the preseason, sort of playing as that sort of high halfback / wing role. And the other one is Garcia. Garcia, I think, seems like a little bit of a trap. He's at a similar price point as well as my man Cooper Lord, 245.8k. Mid forward, he does have the DPP, which is very handy. I could bring him into my team at the expense of a Kako, which is something I'm kind of not anticipating, but something that I'm willing to do if Garcia smashes it in the first couple of games before his price goes up. Compared to Kako, if he doesn't score well, I'll be prepared to use that as a correction trade. So that's my thinking around that. And then the other player was Max Holmes. Now, I know he's got that really weirdly high ownership. We spoke about it, Liam, off air. I think he can elevate his game, yes. But when we analysed him and uncovered the fact that he does have I guess, a limited ceiling, um, for lack of a better word. I think that's kind of turned me away.
The
And
concern
there's,
for the concern for me with him is that the CBAs don't necessarily equate to high scores for him.
yeah, exactly right. Yeah, there needs to be a correlation there, like in terms of
Yeah,
role. And yeah, that's something that we kind of had a look at closely, and it was a bit bizarre. It didn't really make sense. So because the numbers don't give you confidence or surety in the fact that if he gets extra CBAs, you'd think he would be getting
I
extra
think he was
points.
scoring more, but just not enough.
It
You know
wasn't
what I mean? Like
consistent.
it
Yeah,
wasn't. Yeah,
there didn't seem to be a trend there. I think
yeah.
that's the main thing. So yeah, for me, I was thinking about him in Zorko's position at D2, just because of the fact that he's, what, 60, 70K cheaper than Zorko. That was another sort of thing that I fleetingly thought about. And then the other one was Lockie Neal in the midfield. Again, back to that point, if I was to get Neal in my team, it means that it'd have to kind of come at the expense of a Callahan.
Yeah.
I'd need to find cash in the sense of maybe trading out of Sanders to a rookie, or again Zorko down to Holmes in order to make up that cash to bring Neal into my team. And it means that he's taking up a spot that I think can be filled or better filled with rookies. I mean, it's silly to say because Neal's a primo, but I don't know. I just don't have that confidence that he's going to be an outright top. He might be a top 8 midfielder, yes, but I just think, and I'll let you jump in here, Liam, because you mentioned something as well. But we kind of highlighted it in the midfielders primo episode that he's another year older. He's coming off an injury he sustained in the grand final. Does he potentially, his durability, take a little bit of a hit? Is he going to be managed in season? Who knows? But I know, Liam, that you mentioned something that I don't know if you saw it with authority, but
Yeah.
just give me
No,
a
I
little bit of
don't know if I
heebie-jeebies
would.
because.
I don't know whether I'd use this as an authority, and I'm not trying
Oh,
to scare
okay.
anyone off.
Yep.
But I did see someone on Twitter say that apparently Neil has said, with the shorter preseason, that he might have a slower start to the season.
Mm,
But I think also really reading between the lines, that's probably what's likely. I don't know. He's 30 plus.
yeah.
He is coming off a short preseason. Um, he's
Yeah.
coming off injury. Um,
And the short preseason
it's hard to tell.
then going hand in hand with coming off an injury
Mm.
scares me. That's the one thing that sticks out to me. Like Zorko, we're always worried about his durability. But to his credit, he was pretty durable last year, and knock on wood that he is in 2025. But he's not coming off an injury. Whereas with Neil, he is. He's had to rehab an injury, and yes, he's come back and he's fine. He's playing virtually a full preseason, but shortened preseason. So I don't know. And just we've seen all these primos as well, like midfielders going down Butters, Bont, um, Goulden. Like, you don't want it to be another player, but it may be a coincidence. They're all midfielders, but I don't know. I don't know. Like that,
Yeah,
just
I think
players coming off if injuries scare me.
I do worry about his not necessarily his durability, but just whether that he does get managed to start the
Mm,
season. There's plenty of ball winning players in the midfield for the Lions. You can have Ashcroft take over a bit more
mm.
in terms of Will. Levi Ashcroft coming in, Dunkley as well in there. I just worry that there's a potential for him to sort of be
Yeah,
managed or
managed.
sort of
Yeah.
just a slower start.
Mm. Well, that's my team, Liam, in terms of very good points as well there with regards to Neil that we haven't spoken about before, so worth noting. But that is my team as it stands. In terms of emergencies, V, C, and C, it probably is worth going into now because we're not going to have a chance to go through before the round one.
Yeah.
So I think with emergencies, I'll probably put the E on trainer, plays
Mhm.
first up. It's probably worth a discussion as well, a brief discussion in terms of if an emergency player who plays first up pops off, is it worth bringing a non-playing player into your team in order to loop that player's
No,
score off the bench? Just a good
no,
reminder.
no. it happens every year, and I want to
Exactly.
record everyone saying no, don't do it.
Yep.
Because it's not, especially this. I think with the way that it's just not worth it. It's not worth
No.
it for one week.
Yeah. I know you're not wasting a trade, so people will probably justify it in that sense, but
it's not worth it.
you're
You're reducing your cash gen early on.
yeah,
That's
by
my
having that
biggest issue
non-playing
with it.
player. And I think down the track as well, if that non-playing player never plays, you're more than likely going to have to trade that player out in order to bring in another cash cow to make money. So, like, I mean, knock on wood, it's not Zach Reed, but Zach Reed had him in my team, and that was off the back of injury, and he got marooned in my team for the remainder of the season, which wasn't a good thing. But there was a previous season to that where I brought in, I forget the player's name, from Essendon as well. It was a forward. Would have been 2023, I think it was. Brought him in. It was a forward defender, and he didn't play. Sorry, he was on the cusp of playing, I think it was, and then played a game, got injured. Can't remember who it was. He got delisted though.
Oh, who was it?
He was always injured. But I was like, oh, I'll go for him. And then he just again got stuck in my team.
Oh, Kane Baldwin.
Baldwin, that's the one. Yes.
Oh.
So again, and like that was just out of circumstance, just thinking, okay, well, like he's going to play a game, and he did, but then he got injured, and it shot me in the foot. So again, very good reminder, Liam, that it happens every year. There's always a rookie that pops off, and you're like, do I do it? No. I will say, is there
or to get a
reasoning
VC option?
Yeah.
When people say it for that, I'm like, no, it's not worth it. Because the thing is, let's say you do it. Let's say trainer pops off. Here's your emergency, and then you're like, okay, he scores, I don't know, 100. And then you're like, all right, Ben Patton, we're going to trade him to, I don't know, whoever it might be. Non-playing player that's not going to play for the season. Then next week, trainer's dropped for some reason. I don't know why he's going to be dropped after 100, but let's just say he's dropped.
Yeah.
Like, you're then down, like, you got no rookie cover. You got no defensive cover now.
Yep.
That's my biggest issue with it. Especially if it's a defender, do not do it for a defender, please.
Oh, yeah, exactly right. Like,
but don't do it on any part of the field.
No. Yeah. It's just, I think you've got to write off round one as like, that's the one round where you're kind of taking a bit of a gamble, at the very least anyway. As we always know, there's always rookies that get dropped or injured in the opening rounds. So please, if you need to record yourself, like when it happens, to remind yourself for the subsequent season not to do it, in terms of the fact that you don't need a non-playing player, then do it. The difference is this year, I think that we do have a playing ruckman in all likelihood in Boyd in R3, whereas traditionally we would have a non-playing player there. So we could use the VC loophole there, the captaincy loophole. This year's a little bit different. And I think just going into round one being like, okay, well, I'm just going to take a flyer on the captaincy on a player that I think is going to score the most for the round.
Yeah.
I will say, Liam, leak. Say, for example, that he isn't selected in round one. He's played a game. Is he worth having in your starting team as the now, Liam, for those people tuning into the audio podcast, he is shaking
my head.
Yes. Shaking his head vigorously.
I've done for this past 5 minutes. No.
Surprised your head hasn't dropped off.
Oh, no. I just don't think it's worth it. Like, I just don't think there's any, I don't know, let's say Leak got a concussion, then I might say yes.
Yeah.
But the issue for me is Leak's probably going to get dropped and might not make his way back into the side until end of the year. And you're limiting yourself in your defensive area. I just think that realistically, like, let's look at it. The buys, you've got round 2, you're going to have 2 teams not playing. Round 3, you're going to have 2 teams not playing. It's the popular options as well because it's, GWS and Suns. So the people are sort of picking at least Connor Stone. The Suns,
Callahan as well.
Yep. Callahan potentially as well. Whitfield as well for some people. The Suns, I don't know if there's many players that are relevant. Maybe what's his face? The guy from the midfielder.
Anderson?
Yeah, maybe him. Some people like him. I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe picking him. Round 3, you've got Collingwood and Sydney. I mean, we've all got like Patton, Roberts, Perryman, Dacos. If you start him, um, yeah, there's plenty of options there. Then
Mm.
round 4, you've got Essendon and Hawthorn. There's a number of Essendon players that we're talking about. Reed,
Yeah.
Pryor, Sardis, Kako, just to name some of them. So I just
Mm.
don't like those. There's 3 rounds that we're not going to have any issue. You're not going to have an issue with having a non-playing player to loop options on in best 22, but you're limiting your cash gen. By the round
Mm.
4, I'd be shocked if one of these rookies hasn't fallen over.
Yeah. Yep. Very good points. And you've passed the test, Liam, across all those questions. So well done.
Do not do it.
I was trying to snag you. But yes, I am going in terms of emergencies at this stage. Rookies, we don't know until the round 1 teams come out. But we'll just go. We could go Nevitt, could go Campo, Boyd at R3, and Stone. That's it. So that's virtually my team. In terms of captaincy, do I go for the player who is projected to score the highest of my team, 138, Tristan Cherry, start like a house on fire? Maybe he faces the Dogs, Tim English. I think traditionally they gave up a fair few. I got to have a look at DFS Australia, but I think they gave up a fair few points, the Dogs, traditionally. So might be a nice matchup. Have to delve back into that again. Outside of that, De Conning maybe against Nank, though. We spoke about him in terms of combating more physical ruckman in your boy, good old Tobias, Toby Nank, who you do have a tattoo of his face on your arse cheek. It was confirmed in our previous episode. In fact, I even put a photo up there, Liam. I don't know if you've seen it. Yeah.
I'm glad.
Don't know if it's you, but it had a love heart and the face. Go and check it out. The sort of the back end of the Ruckman analysis episode, quite funny. Outside of that, I haven't really delved into the Rucks as yet. Who's that? Sorry,
Sheasel.
There is She's Nuts, of course, against the Dogs. Just in general, he's an absolute gun. Sarong against the Cats. Now, I have heard that the weather at GHBA is going to be scorching.
Very hot. It's 37 on Saturday.
Conditions could suit him. Zorko, potentially. Any other questions before we round things out, Liam? Because I am keen to hear of your team in the next episode.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Well, that is my team. Have one last look at it. No doubt it will not look this way come the conclusion of round 1 because there will be a couple of changes, especially with rookies. But that's by and large how my team looks. In terms of structure, as you can see there, which I haven't rounded out, but I will summarize. In defenders, we have 2 primos in Sheasel and Zorko. We have 3 mid-prices in Short, Roberts and Perryman, and 1 on-field rookie in Zach Reed or a Patton or a Trainer. In midfield, we have 1 primo, genuine primo, 1 fallen primo, a mid-pricer in Clary Oliver. We have mid-pricer in Chera, another mid-pricer in Callahan and Sanders. And then we have rookies rounding out the last 3 spots in O'Driscoll, Sartis and Ashcroft. And then, of course, rookies in terms of Nevitt, Campo and Boxall. And rucks, we have Cherry and De Conning, Harry Boyd on the bench in R3. In the forward line, we have, so the rucks, they're set and forget, hopefully. In terms of forwards, we have 1 primo in Horn Francis, a fallen primo in McRae, mid-pricer in Bailey Smith, what would you classify Daniel as? He's probably a mid-pricer now. Was pushing towards primo status at one stage, but he's a mid-pricer. Pal Pepper, rookie priced, higher end rookie price. And then Davidson rounding things out on field in the forward line, and then Kako and Stone on the bench. And then in flex, we have like Flynn. He's in there. That is it. That rounds out my team. Pretty happy with the structure. As I said, things might change, minor scale, but other than that, I am ready and raring to go. As I'm no doubt walking into the MCG, as I always say, first game of the round, Tigers up against my mob. I'm always fiddling with my team, as is Pistol Pete, our father-in-law. So we'll no doubt be exchanging a couple of tactics here and there, but by and large, that is my team. So hopefully you enjoyed that, Liam. Hopefully those of you tuning in enjoyed that comprehensive chat about my team. I could have summarized it in 5 minutes, but hopefully there's a little bit of justification there around each selection in terms of the structure and what I'm going for, and my hopes and dreams laid on the line here for the top prize. We'll wait and see how we go. But that's it, Liam. Thank you for helping unveil my team. Thank you to the good people, the you people of the SuperCoach community for checking out my team. Any comments and questions, of course, feel free to leave them down below. You can hit us up across socials, as you always know. Twitter, Instagram, all that hoopla. But let's check out your team, Liam, the next episode. Stay tuned because we will be unveiling Liam's team in the next episode. Well, that's it, ladies and gents. Thank you. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers.
See you guys.